The room was dark and cold. A single light shone from above, casting shadows on the face of the alien sitting alone in a metal chair. His arms were chained. His skin, once smooth and deep blue, now looked pale and marked with scars. His silver eyes stared forward without blinking. His name was Rakel. He was once a high commander of the Zarkai Dominion, a powerful alien empire that ruled over many worlds. His fleet had destroyed countless planets. He had never lost a battle. Until Earth. 3 years earlier, the Zarkai launched a full invasion of Earth. They believed it would be quick. Humans had no advanced weapons. No space fleet. No defenses that could match alien technology. They thought it would take 7 days to control the planet. They were wrong. Now, Rakel sat as a prisoner. He was the last surviving commander from the invasion. Today, he finally agreed to speak. A human officer entered the room, placed a recorder on the table, and pressed the red button. "State your name and rank," the officer said. "I am Rakel," the alien answered slowly. "Former High Commander of the Zarkai 7th Fleet." The officer asked, "Why did you attack Earth?" Rakel closed his eyes. His voice was heavy. "We watched your broadcasts. We studied your history. Your wars. Your fear. Your chaos. We believed you were weak. We thought your emotions made you unfit for war. We were wrong." He continued. "I have fought many enemies. Some ran. Some begged. Some resisted for a time. But humans, they were different." The officer leaned forward. "How were they different?" Rakel looked into the camera. "You fight like creatures with nothing left to lose." The Zarkai invasion began at dawn. Hundreds of ships entered Earth's orbit without warning. Giant black vessels blocked out the sun over major cities, New York, London, Cairo, Tokyo. The ships dropped pods filled with soldiers. Streets turned to chaos. Buildings fell. Tanks melted. People ran. Governments tried to communicate, to offer surrender. The Zarkai gave no reply. But something unexpected happened. Humans didn't surrender. They fought. At first, the Zarkai laughed. Humans used old weapons. Their armies were slow and weak. But within hours, resistance groups formed in every major city. They didn't wait for leaders. They didn't ask for help. They simply acted. In Berlin, fighters destroyed bridges to slow the enemy even if it meant cutting off their own escape. In Sao Paulo, neighborhoods were set on fire to deny the aliens places to hide. In Johannesburg, power stations were destroyed to block alien scanners. The Zarkai were confused. "Your people," Rakel said, "used fire to block us, bombs to bury us, and death to fuel your courage." In one report, an alien squad was ambushed by human children. A young girl walked up holding a stuffed toy. Inside was a hidden bomb. The Zarkai soldiers began to fear the civilians. "You did not fight like warriors," Rakel explained. "You fought like shadows. Like ghosts." Zarkai soldiers started to refuse orders. Some went missing. Others requested transfer back to orbit. They had crushed many worlds, but Earth was not like the others. "You used grief as a weapon," Rakel said. "You turned every loss into strength." Back in the interrogation room, the officer paused the recording and looked at Rakel. "Why did you keep going?" he asked. "Why didn't you retreat?" Rakel lowered his head. "Pride. Arrogance. We believed we could still win. But we didn't understand you. You were not fighting for victory. You were fighting to make us feel what you felt: loss, fear, pain." The room went quiet. The officer asked one final question. "Do you have a message for any Zarkai who survived?" Rakel slowly raised his eyes. "Yes," he said. Stay away from Earth. Forever. Do not return. Let the humans rebuild. Or let them destroy themselves. But do not face them again. You will not survive. The red light on the recorder turned off. 2 guards opened the door. Va Rakel stood and walked out without another word. Outside, the stars still moved across the sky. And Earth, though broken, still turned. The invasion of Earth continued. Zarkai ships filled the skies. Giant vessels blocked sunlight, casting shadows over cities and oceans. Their soldiers landed in hundreds of locations, spreading out quickly. The aliens believed this would be another easy mission. They had done this many times before. Find a weak planet, destroy resistance, and take control. Earth looked no different until the fighting began. Zarkai troops marched through city streets with no emotion. They shot anything that moved. They destroyed power grids, water supplies, communication towers. Within hours, most major governments were silent. The alien commanders were pleased. Reports showed fast progress. But then something unexpected appeared in the reports: resistance. Not from armies. From people. Ordinary humans. In some cities, civilians attacked alien soldiers using tools, knives, and even bricks. In others, they used old guns, gasoline bombs, or fire traps made from kitchen supplies. In Warsaw, Poland, the aliens faced their first real problem. The city was quiet when they arrived. Too quiet. There were no crowds, no traffic, no sound. It felt empty. But the Zarkai didn't know they were walking into a trap. Explosives had been hidden under roads. Sharp wires were stretched across streets to damage enemy walkers. Entire buildings were turned into traps, rooms full of gas, floors ready to collapse. The Zarkai tried to respond with force. They fired plasma cannons. They dropped gas bombs. They used sonic weapons to break windows and eardrums. Still, the humans didn't run. They kept attacking from the shadows. In one night alone, 30 alien soldiers were lost to what looked like a team of just 4 humans. They moved without sound, struck without warning, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. The Zarkai sent drones into the ruins of buildings. Most never came back. One drone did return with a short message written on a wall in blood: "You are not safe anywhere." Alien soldiers began showing signs of stress. They refused to enter dark buildings. They jumped at sudden noises. Some even started speaking of nightmares, visions of humans with empty eyes, moving through fire. In another report, an alien squad caught a small group of human children. They were starving and scared. But one child smiled and pulled out a grenade hidden under his coat. That moment was sent to Va Rakel. He watched the footage in silence. He replayed it 5 times. After that, he ordered a review of all invasion plans. He sensed something had changed. Back on the battlefield, the humans continued to adapt. They used Zarkai tech taken from fallen soldiers. Engineers rebuilt weapons from alien parts. Hackers blocked the invaders' communications. In one case, a group of university students in Japan used drones meant for photography to carry explosives into alien ships. In South Africa, villagers created a fake landing site filled with fuel tanks and explosives. When a transport ship landed, it was destroyed in seconds. The aliens had better weapons, better armor, better training. But the humans had something else: the will to keep going, even when they had nothing left. Some Zarkai commanders began questioning the mission. They asked, why do they fight when there is no hope? The answer wasn't clear. One commander said, they fight because this is their home. Another replied, no. They fight because we made them lose everything. Va Rakel received more and more reports that made no sense. Human forces were outnumbered but still winning. Whole towns were cut off, yet the humans kept resisting. Some even attacked with their bare hands. Back on the command ship, VA Rakel stood before a large screen showing a map of Earth. Red lights marked Zarkai zones. Blue lights marked resistance. The red lights were fading. He spoke to his staff, "This is not war. This is something else. They are not protecting their world. They are fighting to punish us for trying to take it." He realized Earth wasn't just defending, it was rejecting them. The humans were not just soldiers. They had become something more dangerous. And the war, which should have lasted a week, was slipping out of control. The war on Earth was no longer a normal invasion. It had turned into something dark and unexpected. Zarkai commanders were confused. The humans should have broken by now. Their cities were destroyed. Their leaders were dead or hiding. Their food and water supplies were failing. But the humans kept fighting. Worse than that, they were changing. Zarkai soldiers sent reports from the field. They said the humans were becoming more violent, more unpredictable. They were no longer acting like soldiers. They were fighting like people with nothing to lose. Some aliens began calling them the monsters. They said the humans didn't care about survival anymore. They only cared about hurting the invaders. In one report, a human soldier ran into a group of Zarkai troops carrying a bomb strapped to his chest. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just smiled before it exploded. In another case, a mother set fire to her house while alien troops were inside. She and her family were still in the building. No one survived. One alien officer said, "They would rather die than let us win." VA Rakel read these reports with growing fear. The humans were not just fighting back, they were teaching others how to fight like them. The rage was spreading. Across the planet, resistance groups copied the most brutal tactics. They used fire, poison, and traps built from bones and metal. They didn't fear pain. They didn't ask for peace. In some areas, they stopped taking prisoners. In others, they captured Zarkai and used them as bait for ambushes. One video showed a human child guiding two alien scouts into a building. A moment later, the building exploded. The child was never found. VA Rakel watched the footage. He didn't speak. He simply turned away. The Zarkai responded with more force. They used special weapons designed to break the enemy's mind. One of these was called the Mind Scream, a wave of sound and pressure that caused fear and confusion. They tested it in Chicago. After the blast, the city fell silent. Alien soldiers moved in to search for survivors. What they found was shocking. Humans had tied themselves to trees, poles, and fences. Their ears were bleeding. Their faces were twisted in pain. But none of them screamed. Many had bitten their own tongues off. One alien wrote in a report, "They chose pain over fear." Who does that? More soldiers began refusing to fight. Some abandoned their posts. Others broke down completely. The aliens were losing control. On the command ship, VA Rakel stood in the war room. Screens around him showed Earth burning. Smoke rose from every continent. Ships crashed. Buildings fell. He stared at the images and whispered, "This is not war. This is punishment." He realized something terrible. The humans were not just defending Earth. They were showing the galaxy what happened when you tried to take everything from them. He had seen many species fight for survival. But never like this. Never with such hate. Such fire. One of his generals said, "They are becoming like us." VA Rakel shook his head. "No," he said. "They are becoming worse." In private, some aliens spoke of nightmares. Of human faces in the dark. Of voices whispering promises of revenge. One soldier said, "We came here thinking we were the strong ones. But they made us feel weak." Back in his cell, years later, VA Rakel remembered those days. The smoke. The silence. The look in the human's eyes. They were no longer afraid. They were no longer human in the way the Zarkai understood. They had become something else. And that, more than anything, was what scared him the most. The earth was burning. Cities were gone. Oceans were poisoned. Forests had turned to ash. The sky was dark with smoke and falling ships. From orbit, the planet looked like it was dying. But the humans were still fighting. The Zarkai had used every weapon they had. Plasma storms. Mind-breaking sound waves. Viral bombs. They sent more troops. More machines. More death. But none of it stopped the resistance. In Moscow, the last major human stronghold, the Zarkai surrounded the city. They dropped gas over the outer zones. They blocked escape routes. They believed this would finally end the war. For days, nothing happened. No gunfire. No movement. It looked like the city had already fallen. Then, one morning, the ground shook. Explosions came from below the streets. Human fighters burst out from underground tunnels, firing stolen alien weapons. They moved fast, with no fear. They had nothing left. No food. No medicine. No reinforcements. But they attacked anyway. The aliens tried to retreat, but the streets were blocked. The humans had prepared every corner. Every broken building was a trap. Every street was a battlefield. One alien soldier reported seeing a man crawl out from under rubble with a broken leg, still holding a weapon. He didn't stop. He kept firing until he collapsed. In the command ship above, VA Rakel stood in silence. His generals had no answers. His fleets were breaking. His soldiers refused to fight. Some even tried to escape Earth without orders. He received a message from one of the outer bases. It was a human voice, speaking in Zarkai language. "We're not fighting for Earth," the voice said. "We're fighting because you took everything. And now, we're taking it back." VA Rakel understood what that meant. The war was no longer about victory. The humans didn't care about winning. They only cared about making the Zarkai pay. On the battlefield, the Zarkai lost more ground every hour. In Brazil, humans blew up a bridge with both sides on it, just to stop the aliens from passing. In Canada, a captured human whispered to his captors, "You're not leaving this planet." Then he activated a hidden bomb. The final order came. VA Rakel had one last weapon, the planet cracker. A device that could destroy the entire planet from orbit. Total victory. Nothing left behind. He stood before the control panel. The button glowed red. His hand hovered over it. He thought of his people. Of his soldiers. Of the billions of humans still fighting below. Then he stepped back. "No," he said. "We don't get to erase this. We must remember it." He gave a new order, full retreat. Any ship still flying must leave Earth immediately. The war was over. Not because the humans won with strength. But because the Zarkai lost the will to fight. As the ships pulled away, human fighters chased them into orbit. They damaged engines, destroyed escape pods, and sent one final message. Run. And never come back. Years later, in his cell, VA Rakel told the human officer everything. How the war started. How it failed. How the Zarkai had broken not from force, but from fear. The officer asked, "Do you believe humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy?" VA Rakel nodded slowly. "Not because of your weapons," he said. "Not because of your numbers. But because you fight like you're already dead. And nothing is more terrifying than an enemy with nothing to lose." He looked up at the camera. His voice dropped to a whisper. "If anyone ever finds this recording, stay away from Earth." The war was over, but the damage would never fade. Earth was still spinning, but it no longer looked the same. The land was burned. The oceans were dark. Cities were broken. Billions were gone. But the humans were still there. They didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They simply began to rebuild quietly, carefully. With worn hands and tired eyes. No parades. No speeches. Just survival. In the years that followed, stories of the war spread across the galaxy. At first, other species didn't believe them. They laughed at the idea that Earth, an unknown world, could defeat the Zarkai Dominion. But then the facts became clear. The Dominion had retreated. Their fleet was destroyed. Their soldiers broken. Their command shattered. All because of one planet. One species. And the galaxy listened. Some tried to contact Earth. They received no answer. Others sent probes. Most never returned. A few brave ships tried to land but turned back before reaching orbit. The warnings were too strong. The stories too terrifying. They spoke of a race that fought with grief. With pain. With rage. A race that did not fear death, because it had already lost everything. In a quiet prison cell far from Earth, V'Arakel sat alone. He had not asked for freedom. He had refused offers to return home. He stayed on Earth by choice. He studied human history. Their books. Their films. Their old stories of war. He watched videos from before the invasion. He read poetry written in the ruins. He listened to voices recorded by people who died in the fighting. He tried to understand. They are not like us, he said one day to a guard. They are not like anyone. He asked for one last message to be recorded. Not for Earth but for the rest of the galaxy. A camera was set in the room. He sat in front of it, calm and quiet. His hands were folded. His face was tired. He looked into the lens and spoke. To any species who hears this, listen carefully. Do not come to Earth. Do not study it. Do not touch it. Leave it alone. He paused. We believed humans were weak. Emotional. Primitive. That was our mistake. He leaned forward. They are emotional. They are chaotic. They are flawed. But when you take everything from them, they become something else. They become fire. They become ghosts. They become the last thing you see before you die. V'Arakel looked away for a moment. Then back at the lens. They will not forget what we did. And if you give them a reason, they will fight again. And you will not survive it. The camera turned off. The recording was sent into space, to be found by anyone who searched for answers about Earth. Centuries passed. Earth rebuilt. Slowly. Quietly. Stronger than before. Humans reached the stars not to conquer, but to explore. They remembered the war. They taught their children the price of peace. And still, the warning stood. Across the galaxy, one rule remained unbroken. Never start a war with Earth. Because when humans are pushed too far, they do not fall. They become something you cannot understand. And you will never be ready.